I'm going to guess we're live. I didn't even check my text. Hey, we're live. The mic is hot. Hi, everybody.
There you go.
It's we're kind of flying by the seat of our pants this morning. That's all right. It's a 1 o'clock start. It's early. I've got like a gallon of coffee here, hazelnut flavored. If you're ever wondering, you went mocha. Okay, yep. Good. Hey, gang. Here we are. Game 3 coming your way. Jake Chapman, Chrissy Birdsall. We're up here on the perch, and we're getting set for Pistons Magic. A 1-1 split in Detroit last Sunday was a movie. I think is that what the kids say?
A movie?
It was a movie.
Yeah.
It was cinema.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, that's good.
Good. And so here we are, and this should be an absolutely electric atmosphere experience. If you're coming down, make sure you're wearing black. We're doing a blackout today. I'm blacked out. You're blacked out. We're ready to go.
Shirts.
And I am so excited for this basketball game. We're going to get into X's and O's. We're going to talk physicality. We're going to talk aggression. But it is not lost on me that 8 days ago, you and I were sitting here, and we were pretty much contemplating the end.
Yep.
We were wondering what to expect. You were already making plans, brushing up your resume and your LinkedIn, et cetera, et cetera. And the Magic came out and absolutely put the hammer down on the Charlotte Hornets, and then came out 48 hours later and somewhat shocked the world, stealing Game 1 against the Pistons. An outstanding performance across the board. Fourth quarter Franz showed up. The physicality was there. The defense was there. The paint points were not there for the Pistons. We held them to a season-low 34 points in the paint. They absolutely flipped the script in Game 2, specifically in the third quarter, a 30-3 run coming out of the halftime locker room. They held us to 34 paint points on Wednesday. They won the rebounding battle on Wednesday, and now here we are. You got to protect home court. You've already ripped it from the Pistons' hands. But if you take care of business today and on Monday, then you'll be headed back to Detroit with a 3-1 series lead. Don't want to get ahead of ourselves, one game at a time. You have to. I don't think you can win the series today, but I do think if Detroit wins this game, then you're really fighting an uphill battle. So got to protect home court. Got to have the juice in the building today. It's a strange start time. I think that works in our favor a little bit. We're going to have some artificial energy pumping through this building. But it has been quite the week. I would say I'm exhausted, but I've been riding on adrenaline for about the last 12 days. There you go. There's my open. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm really excited for today. It's my first playoff game for me. I was able to experience the play-in, obviously, last week. And if the energy, I was thinking about it this morning, if the energy even just somewhat matches what we saw against Charlotte, even if you go all the way back to December, that Miami NBA Cup game to go to Las Vegas, those were easily my two favorite games as working with the Orlando Magic this year. If we get even somewhat of that energy, this could be a really fun atmosphere. And I'm expecting the Magic fans to fully exceed it. You mentioned it. It's a blackout. Wear the shirts. That is always going to be really fun. Get this whole place decked out. And I'm looking at the comments already. I saw Rake Jed, I think, from TikTok said that the Magic team, this is the best 8 seed that he's ever seen. He said that it's one of the tougher matchups. They're a real threat here. He said the 4 core is really strong here. Wendell Carter Jr. had a really good first game against Jalen Duren. I think he had a playoff high, 17 points from what I had read coming into today's game. So really big matchup here. You mentioned they split the series out on the road. You come back here. It's all about protecting home court. You heard the players say it yesterday. Wendell Carter Jr. said that, okay, you take the first 2 games. Nice to get one on the road, coming back 1-1 instead of down 2-0. And now you got a chance to make a little bit of noise here in these next 2.
Should be a whole lot of fun. As I mentioned, if you're coming, wear the black and bring the juice. Those are our 2 instructions for this Saturday morning and this Saturday afternoon. Checking out the comments here. By the way, I'm Jake Chapman. She's Chrissy Birdsall. We're the radio crew, or at least half of it. I'll have the call today beginning at 1 o'clock. 96.9 The Game, our flagship station here in Central Florida. You can always stream us on the Magic app, the iHeartRadio app, or outside of the listening area on NBA League Pass Audio or Sirius XM. Pregame begins at 12:30 with our friend Brandon Kravitz, all along the Magic Audio Network. Some of the comments from the last 2 days, what I want to get out of you, Chrissy Birdsall. You actually didn't go to practice because I led you astray, but you were ready to go to practice. I thought it was closed. It was not. The media spoke, or the players spoke, and the media were all gathered except for Chrissy. But she did go through and cut up all the audio and listen to every last word that was uttered from Jamal Mosley. Who else spoke? Franz Wagner spoke yesterday, I believe. Wendell Carter Jr. as well. A lot of talk about the physicality. And we, heading into the series, I mean, if you want to go back, I wouldn't advise it. but if you want to go back and listen to my open from before game one, I described it as 2 cinder blocks just banging against each other over and over again. And I'm going to just keep on doing this for the remainder of the stream because that's what it is. You got 2 physical basketball teams, and whoever is the most physical, and then ideally, without putting the other team on the free throw line 40 times, is going to win this game this afternoon and the series, in my opinion. You've seen it through 2 games. They ratcheted up the physicality in the third quarter on Wednesday. They ratcheted up the defense. They quote-unquote sped us up. They got uber aggressive. They were doubling us from different parts of the floor. They were filling passing lanes, and we got disrupted. We weren't even getting shots up at times, but when we were, they weren't great looks. And that was a stretch of basketball that is going to happen over the course of a 7-game series, especially when you're playing the Detroit Pistons, a premier defensive team and a premier physical team in this league. Some of the questions that I had and some of the questions that I know were posed to the guys yesterday were about how do you counteract that aggression, that physicality? How do you turn it against them? And I think there's probably some answers that get a little too deep into X's and O's, but the Magic are going to be ready for that stretch today. Do they have any ideas how to counter some of that aggressiveness, some of that kind of overplaying that you saw from the Pistons in the third quarter on Wednesday?
Yeah, taking a look at some of the notes here, Coach said that they think he responded well in that first game, especially. They embraced that physicality. They knew that was going to be coming in. Call it what you want. You call it a rock'em sock'em game, a war of attrition. JB Bickerstaff said in terms of physicality before game one, it was who does it more, who does it nastier, and who does it longer for 48 minutes, possibly 7 times in a row. And that's always something to keep in mind is, okay, game one, you come out, you jump on them. Game 2, you make the adjustments. But when you get to game 3, 4, 5, these are 2 teams that are going to be a little bit beat up coming into those games because you think of how much pushing and shoving is going down there, how much of those screens. That was a big conversation of the screens that were set against Franz Wagner in the second game.
Right.
I know Wendell Carter Jr. said that, they are really tough screens. Some of them, he said, might not be the most legal, but they have to be able to try and help him out.
Oh, the game begins. Get that messaging out there. Just got to get it out there. You don't have to go straight to the officials with it. Just let it live in the ether, and then eventually it'll settle into where the officials congregate, which I assume is in Secaucus somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere like that. It's all about being physical without fouling, I think, is the key.
Being physical, controlled physicality, to be sure.
JB Bickerstaff said you just want to avoid the silly ones, the reach-in, the cookie jar fouls, I think that you call them. That was something that the Magic got caught in, at least in that first game. There was a lot of fouls called against them. The second game, it flipped a little bit. Not that it made any difference in terms of who won the game. Both teams, whoever shot less free throws actually ended up winning those games. So something to keep an eye on. But yeah, the 2 big battles, you mentioned it, are that physicality, and that comes down to points in the paint, and it comes down to rebounds. Franz Wagner said that to avoid that points in the paint, that's going to be so important. This is a Detroit team that does it so well. Pack the paint, pressure the ball, and take care of it. Don't get those silly turnovers that allow Detroit to run out and get those easy baskets. If there is a turnover, make sure it's on a dead ball and not a live ball play so that Detroit can't just run out and get those easy layups. So that's going to be something you'll see the Magic try and work on this one.
Turnovers have actually been in our favor in this series, but that's because the Pistons have been really loose at the basketball, and it goes back to game 1 when we turned them over, 24 times in that game. 18.5 turnovers per game for Detroit. That's not going to get it done, but we got to take better advantage of those miscues. Talk about live and dead ball turnovers. We need to turn some of Detroit's miscues into some easy points the other way. Fast break points been steadily in their favor, 21-19 to 19.5. Far too many fast break points for both teams, but both of that is because of the solid defense and because of how physical the series has been.
Right.
Early in that third quarter, some of the aggression and physicality that they brought to us, the best way to counter that is with like back cuts, and if they're going to overplay you, soon as you see somebody shading you one direction, you head in the other direction. You got to move without the basketball. But also, we've talked a lot about being on the same page. They need to have a game plan in place for when Detroit starts to ratchet things up, when the doubles start to come from different places on the floor, and they all need to be on the same accord in that regard. So I expect to see a lot more change-ups here tonight from JB Bickerstaff and company, maybe slip into zone, throw in doubles from different places. We need to have our game plan set and in place, and we need to continue communicating throughout the game. It's one of the big advantages when you're at home is the crowd noise on the defensive side of the ball We need to make it difficult on them. When we're on offense, it needs to be very loud in here. Hopefully they can't call out the switches, et cetera, et cetera. And then we need to make sure we're communicating at an extremely high level on the defensive side of the ball, because what Cade Cunningham is doing right now is not sustainable. If we keep letting him score 33 points a game, we're going to lose this series. And so I talk about throwing those change-ups. He's going to have to see a lot of different looks today. Doubling the ball out of his hands consistently is trouble because he's so good at finding his teammates. And it may be, the one game we won, he scored 39 points.
Right.
So it may be a thing where you let him get going as long as you're taking away his teammates. We can't let them get anything easy, and we got to slow things down for Cade Cunningham a little bit. It's just been far too easy in the first two games for him specifically. You tack on, coughing the ball up, easy points on runouts, and it's just a little too much. A little too much that we're just handing to the Pistons and not making them earn, I think.
Right. I think when you go back to that second game, I believe it was Paulo Banchero saying that the communication needs to be at a really high level, and it felt like when they came out in that third quarter that they were a little bit disorganized on offense, get a few couple of turnovers, things start to spiral, and then it just avalanched from there, and that's how the Magic weren't able to come back on that game. Jalen Suggs said that they need to be on a string.
Yeah.
Everybody kind of on the same accord, moving together as a unit, especially when it comes to the defensive end. But you mentioned Cade Cunningham and what he's been able to do for the Detroit Pistons this year. And even just in the playoffs, since coming back from that pneumothorax, he has been on a tear. You mentioned it.
From the what now?
Pneumothorax?
Well,
that's
job.
a collapse lung.
Yeah.
That's a big
You
word.
just said collapse lung, and everybody would have known what you were talking about.
I got to go
for it.
fully into the medical terminology.
Good work.
But you mentioned it, 33 points a game. He has been basically getting whatever he wants, whenever he wants. JB called him a matchup nightmare for other teams because he can score in the paint. He can go back and get that mid-range shot. He can shoot a three. He's leading the team in the way that he wants to. And Coach Mosley said on the other side of it that that's going to be the biggest priority is keep him in front of him. You got to be physical both on and off the ball. You got to be smart so you don't get him to the free throw line a ton. But you mentioned it. Was it a matter of, okay, let Cade Cunningham get his and then defend everybody else? Kind of felt like that in game one. You mentioned he had 39, nobody else. I think Tobias Harris was the only one that scored in double figures in that game one. He's another guy you got to watch out for because he's averaging about 3 points more per game against the Magic this season, as well as 3 points more per game in these first two playoff games. He's averaging about 16, 17 points over those first two. So, yes, you want to slow down Cade Cunningham, got to keep an eye on him, but you want to make sure you're keeping everybody else in check. And we mentioned Wendell Carter Jr. guarding Jalen Duren, who's been averaging a little bit less from his season average against the Magic because of how well Wendell's doing. He's got to keep that pressure up over the next couple of games as well. Yeah,
Duren has certainly impacted the game more so in game two. He's a plus 21 in his 31 minutes on the floor, double-double. Or no, I'm sorry, he was a rebound short of a double-double, 11 points, 9 rebounds. But the interior defense, and it wasn't necessarily Duren. Isaiah Stewart made a big impact off the bench, and then Tobias had 2 block shots in game two, and Asar Thompson is an absolute beast, whether he's on the perimeter or protecting the rim. He's like a defense all unto himself. So Detroit answered back in game two. They got much better performances from those guys specifically. I thought Tobias, we kind of victimized him in game one, and he made an impact defensively and then ended up with a double-double, grabbed 11 boards as well to go with his 16 points in game two. You're right. He is dangerous, especially in transition, when you get him with a head of steam headed towards the basket. And what they like to do is get out and go and then fan out to the three-point line. So if it's a game today where they get rolling on the long ball, we're in trouble. Neither team has shot the three-pointer well at all in this series. 27.3% for us, 29% for the Pistons. It's been a rock fight, and rock fight might be even a little liberal. It's been a brick fest. That's
a good one. That's a really good one.
It's been ugly offense. Great defense, but also fairly ugly offense. I mentioned the free throws real quick before we go down to Coach Mosley. They're shooting 31 free throws a game. We're shooting 25.5. That is a complete flip from the regular season where we were up over, I think, 34 free throw attempts per game in the regular season against this team in 4 tries. Maybe even 35 it was. I had it in my opening game one notes. Bottom line is we should be out attempting them at the free throw line. It's been our bread and butter all season long. Both teams put the opposite team on the free throw line. That's what happens when you have physical, defensive-minded teams. But we got to get that number up, and then we got to make them, too. 72.5% from the free throw line ain't going to cut it, especially if you're only getting there 25.5 times per game. We got to get up over 30 free throw attempts, and we got to make up over 75%, I think. that is one of those little sort of boosts to our offense that we absolutely need because we're not a great shooting team.
Right. When you think about how much downhill attack that the Magic have, they are leading the league in the regular season in percentage of points off of free throws, about 19 per game. Detroit's not that much different, though. They're ninth at 16.9% of their points coming from the free throw line. But Jake mentioned the three ball. That's been something for both of these teams that hasn't been hasn't been great for both of them. Even when you go back to the regular season, you look at what Detroit was able to do. They were 17th in the league, about 35% from beyond the arc, whereas the Magic, they were 27th at 34.3%. That's been the calling card for this team the entire season, is if they're able to get the three ball going, then it opens up the game for everybody else. They've been able to find it in the paint. They've been able to find it at times in the mid-range, but that three ball, that's been a little bit of an Achilles heel, not only for the Magic, for the Detroit too. You mentioned it, both of the teams shooting under 30% in that second game. The Magic got to maybe find a little bit of juice, especially coming back home, might have that opportunity to do so.
Yeah, and that's, obviously Desmond Bane's been held at bay through the first two games. I expect a big offensive performance today from Des. If he can knock down a couple threes, that'll make a huge difference. But then Jalen always shoots the ball much better here at home. And if you look down the bench, you really haven't gotten much through two games from AB, from Tristan, from Goga, and from Jamal Cain. That is your second unit. And secondary and sort of role players, and especially young players, always play. It's an old NBA maxim, especially in the playoffs. Always play much better at home. They always kind of get juiced up off of the energy, but also things like sight lines and go into a building that you've only played a handful of games in your young NBA career. Those make a big difference for young players. So hopefully AB, I thought Tristan looked really good in game one. Hopefully you're able to knock down some shots and at least get a little bit of punch from the second unit, because right now it feels like whether it's
Coach, there's always something special about the first game, playoff game at home. As you're driving into the arena tonight and looking around the bowl, what's going through your mind, and what do you think is going through the mind of your team?
I think there's a level of excitement, anticipation of what's to come. I think our guys know what it's like playing here in front of our fans. It's absolutely incredible. And the energy, the atmosphere, the fans outside, you're waiting for just the excitement in the building.
First two games in Detroit, just what did you like most about what your team accomplished on the road?
Yeah, I think game one, our ability to share and move it. I think trust in the pass and obviously making some shots at the right time. There were spells in that game, which in all playoff games happen. You go through lulls, but we didn't let that impact us. Game two, I think the intent was there in a lot of ways. Detroit made some adjustments there, and I think that, our ability to combat that, early on in the game, shots didn't fall. It didn't impact us as much early as it did in that third, but I think just looking back in the film and watching it, our guys were able to see exactly what they did and how we can combat that tonight.
Yesterday after practice, Franz talked about the challenge of guarding Cade, but how cool of an opportunity it is and how much fun he's having with him. What have you seen from Franz's effort on Cade, and what would you like to see from him today?
Yeah, Cade, again, there's a reason why he's top in the MVP category, because of how he plays. He plays at his own pace. He reads the floor, recognizes how to get people involved. And Franz is that guy that wants to take on those challenges. And I think that's a great thing for a player to recognize the greatness in another player and know what he can take from it, but also willing to take on that challenge to stop him from being and doing what he does.
Jamal, hey, can you share some thoughts that you have about Tristan, how he's doing so far, and what you would like to see of him to have even a bigger impact?
Tristan?
Yeah.
Tristan's been great. I think his physicality, his toughness, the moment he steps in the game, whether he's playing 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 2 minutes, he's playing as hard as he can in those moments that he gets. I just want to continue to see him play with a level of confidence that we know he can, stepping into his shots, and then defending as physically as he has been and taking on the challenges that keep coming to him.
Jamal, when Jalen has been at his best in this series, what has he done well?
One, guard the head of the snake in defensively, picking up, changing the game, deflections, roaming around when he's off on different players, knowing exactly how to guard. When he's on the ball, just being disruptive. Offensively, just being a playmaker, distributing the guys, making the next play, the extra play. But you see it when he's just active, physical, and aggressive on both sides of the ball, I think has been big for us.
Hey, Coach. the way you guys have been able to kind of like neutralize Jaron Derlin throughout these first 2 games of the series, entering Game 3, how do you go about keeping the intangibles that have worked, but also changing it up, knowing that at some point he's going to potentially find a counter to how you guys have been defending him?
Well, just the hope is that he doesn't. So we'll just leave it at that. I hope he doesn't. No, Jalen is a hell of a player. You know, when Cade was out, he's averaging close to 25 points a game, and so his ability to be aggressive, getting downhill, attacking the basket, rebounding the basketball. You know, when Cade was out, the ball was in his hands a ton. So he knows how to make plays, and I think that's what, you know, JB will lean on to some, you know, when Cade is out of the game. And so our ability to just guard him physically away from the basket, not letting him get to his easy spots and make it tough on him.
You always see in these playoff games, like someone kind of unexpected pops up. How do you get a player, you know, someone even like Tristan to be ready when that moment comes?
They will be. I believe in our guys. I believe in what they know they are capable of doing. And I think throughout the year, we saw that. You know, when bodies were down, you had different guys step up in different moments. And that's what the playoffs are about. You know, everybody says, well, it was just this one game that this guy went off. Well, that one game got you a win. And I think that's how you have to look at it. That's why we talk about the one game, because you only have to be better than a team one night, one game, and that's it. And so then you move forward to the next game, and that's how we have to keep approaching it. It's one game, one at a time.
Anything else? All right, thank you.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
All right, there he is, Magic head coach Jamal Mosley, as we get set for game number 3. Magic Pistons coming your way in an hour and 39 minutes. Is that right?
Something
that looks
like that.
right. Jake Chapman, Chrissy Birdsall, we're up here on the perch. We're getting you set. We'll have the pregame show beginning at 12:30 on the Magic Audio Network, our flagship station here in Central Florida, 96.9 The Game. You can always stream us on the iHeart app, the Orlando Magic app. Check us out outside of the listening area on Sirius XM or on NBA League Pass Audio as well. It's a blackout here in the arena today. Should be an absolutely electric atmosphere. We're fired up. We're getting set to go. It's going to be a physical battle. We know that to be sure. The first 2 games were. I was sitting down courtside in Detroit, which is pretty awesome. And you just get a sense for exactly how hard these guys are hitting when you're down there. The juice was flowing. It's been a pretty clean series thus far. I haven't had too many clotheslines or rough shots. I think both teams doing a good job of kind of stopping everything from boiling over. But it has certainly been a physical series, and I expect much more of the same here today. And I know Magic head coach Jamal Mosley expected much more of the same. You did hear those questions. We talked a little bit before we went down to Jamal about the bench, and you heard those questions about Tristan and kind of, you know, how do you know when a guy is poised to step up and make a big impact in a series, especially one of those role players coming off the bench? Always seems to happen at home. Role players always feel more comfortable here at home. Magic certainly need, I think, some punch from that bench bunch. But hopefully those guys are able to make an impact today, and I think Coach Mosley might be counting on it as well.
I think so, too. When you mentioned when you get into those later games, you know, what are we at, 3 at this point, that you're going to be relying on that depth a little bit more, especially as this timeline shortens from playing one game every 3 days to playing every other day. You're going to need these guys to step up in those moments, and Tristan's one of them. And he said the physicality, he's liked how physical he's been on the floor. He likes his defending, and these guys are going to be ready at this one game at a time mentality. It's only going to take one or couple of shots to start falling for them to get in their groove. But another player he talked about, and you talked about him right before we tossed it to Coach Mosley, was Jalen Suggs. And we've talked about what he's been able to do at home. We talked about it in the play-in, his home stats versus his away stats. He's averaging a couple points more per game, shooting about 10% better than he is at home compared to his away stats. But he's been playing really good in the postseason so far. 17, 5, and 4 are his stats of points, rebounds, and assists. And it feels like he's been shooting pretty well. You know, had a couple of misses in that game. But when he talked on Wednesday, after the loss against Detroit, it was one of those times I was listening to him, and you could just tell his energy was up despite the loss. He said, okay, you can't erase what happened in the third quarter. It wasn't a great effort by them in that third quarter. You can't take away some of the shooting misses that they had, but he said he wasn't discouraged by the team. They still felt really confident coming home. The fact that they were able to keep the game tied at halftime despite the poor shooting performance in the first half, he said that was a sign of encouragement coming into this home game. So we talked about how good he's been able to do at home. If he's playing as well as he has those first 2 games in the postseason, and you you add this home mentality here, I'm expecting a big game from Jalen Suggs today.
Yeah, he's a tone setter to be sure. Game 1, his defense absolutely changed the outlook of that game in the first half. Also, he hit 2 threes early. He shot about another 8 of them and didn't make any of them, but which is part of the reason that his percentages aren't great. But you're right. He has impacted the game on both sides of the ball. He's always so much better. He more so than anybody else charges up off of the crowd. He's going to be a bull in a china shop, to be sure, as we come out and start this game. So he obviously is so important to what you do defensively, disrupting the Pistons' rhythm. But if he can knock down some shots on the other end, and if he can get going offensively, or if he can distribute and get some guys set up, I thought that was a big swing between game 1 and 2. You finished game 2 with, 17 assists, I think it was? Did you even get that many? Yeah, 17 assists. We got to be up near 30. And I believe in the regular season, the numbers were 13 and 3 when Jalen Suggs gets 7 or more assists. If he's sharing the basketball and kind of, running that general role within the offense, getting guys the ball in their spots, that makes a huge difference. We don't really have an organizer. It kind of that role sort of falls on different people at times, and that's okay. Paolo does it at times, Franz, Jalen, and Desmond Bane, obviously. But I think it works best when Franz and Paolo are attacking from their spots, and when Jalen is getting what he gets kind of off junk in transition, off of maybe a handful of offensive rebounds, but just kind of getting in where he fits in offensively, but then sharing the basketball, getting the rock distributed to guys. And we got to get Desmond Bane going in this game here tonight. I mentioned that as well before the break. I think the energy will be pumping. He was sick before game 1. I think that impacted him a little bit. He's probably a little bit worn down. You think back to that game in Boston where we tried to buy him some time, and that didn't work out very well. He played all 82. He's given you so much on both ends of the floor all season long. But he's here for these spots, and he is somebody who absolutely is going to look at what he's done so far in the series. The numbers aren't great. Percentage-wise, nowhere near what Desmond Bane is capable of. I wouldn't be shocked if he came out and just exploded in this game offensively tonight. We know it's in there. We know the Pistons are, got to give them their credit. They're doing a good job of slowing him down. But I would think the last couple days in the film room, on the practice floor, has been trying to figure out counters and ways to get Des going. And I would expect to see that early and often here tonight.
Right. You mentioned the physicality. You mentioned how Mosley even talked about how Detroit's guarding Desmond Bane really well. And that's why he's averaging about 6 points less in the postseason than he was in the regular season.
And let's just real quick, let's just dive in on that because, a lot of times it's just like, okay, so what does that necessarily mean?
Right.
In the regular season, one of the things that we saw teams do is called top blocking, which is basically shading him towards the baseline and defending him like that, like overplaying him that way. So when we talk about counters to aggression and physicality and things like that, backdoor cuts, if his teammates are looking for him, if he's moving without the basketball, if he's stunting one way and then coming back the other way and diving to the rim, there's going to be opportunities there if they keep playing him like that. And then you just sort of picture getting Des the ball in those curls and him diving to the cup and getting those scoopers and getting to the free throw line. Teams played him like that all season long because they knew we wanted to get him catch and shoot opportunities. There's always going to be looks diving to the basket if they're overplaying him and top blocking him like that. So there are counters and there are ways that we can get him involved and hopefully get him to the free throw line, which I think is a huge key. If he shoots 10, 11 free throws tonight, we're going to be sitting pretty. But when we talk about the way that they're playing him, it is keeping him from catch and shoot opportunities.
Right.
But there are opportunities for us to play off of that.
Yeah, and I think the ball movement helps that, right? If you start getting Franz going, you start getting Paolo going, then you open things up for Jalen Suggs, Desmond Bane. And the ball movement was so good in the first game. You mentioned the assist disparity, 26 in game 1 versus 17 in game 2. When you look at completed passes, the Magic had 304 completed passes in the first game. That was by far the best of any playoff team in game 1. I think the next best was like 290.
I love that number. Just tell me how many passes there were.
But
just give me some raw stats sometimes.
But you see it in the ball movement. When the team moves things around, they say passing up good looks for great looks. And that happens when you get other guys going, you establish your dominance in the paint, then you can move things out on the outside. But yeah, just getting those completed passes instead of turning it over, not going for those home run passes, but those singles.
Yeah.
And being able to build off of that way. This is a team that works really well when they're sharing the rock, moving it, passing it, doing what they needed to do. And that first game, it felt like they were really moving moving the ball at an efficient level. A couple of assists from Paolo. You saw Franz getting involved, passing the ball around. Jalen Suggs, I think all of them had about 4 or 5 in that first game. So that's going to open things up for Desmond Bane and Jalen Suggs too. If they're able to get those 2 guys going, they can also pass it out, get those catch and shoot threes like you mentioned, or those cutting plays to get the easy basket.
Yeah, and I do think that at times in game 2, Detroit was sort of, they knew what was coming. And so you need to be sharper with those passes. The singles is a really good point. Make the easy play no matter what. But also know that the Pistons know what's coming at times. And so you got to stay a step ahead. You got to stay crisp. You got to stay sharp. You got to take that snapshot. You get into the teeth of their defense. You need to make a quick decision, but it needs to be the right decision, and that's easier said than done when you're playing against a team as good defensively as the Detroit Pistons. Turnovers obviously huge. The free throws need to swing here today. And when all is said and done, it goes back to what we started talking about. 2 cinder blocks just banging against each other. Let's go. We got to ratchet up the physicality. We got to bring it to the Detroit Pistons. I do not want to leave anything out on the floor. There needs to be no doubt about it when all is said and done that the Magic have brought the heat, they've brought the battle, and they have protected home court. It will be an electric atmosphere. You got to let that juice flow through you, and you need to be ready for some hand-to-hand combat here today. I'm wearing my Wu-Tang socks, Chrissy. I am wearing my Wu-Tang socks today. Protect your neck. That's going to be our big key. That is my only key for today's game. I know I'm way over your head right now, but I am ready. Oh, I'm ready to go. Let's hit somebody, Chrissy Birdsall.
I can confirm he is wearing Wu-Tang socks.
It is confirmed. Hand-to-hand, foot-to-foot combat here today as the Magic take on the Detroit Pistons. It should be an absolute blast. We appreciate you guys for tuning in all season long. We know we got a couple more of these, or at least one more, coming up on Monday. Hopefully the Magic able to take a 2-1 series lead today against the Detroit Pistons. And regardless, we'll talk to you guys on Monday. She's Chrissy. I'm Jake. We appreciate y'all so much. We'll talk to you on Monday. Go Magic!
They spoke of your messaging around halftime in the last game and stuff, you know, kind of like the snap out of it, let's get going. In today's game and when you're interacting with today's players, do you have to be maybe a little bit more selective when you do more, I guess, direct coaching or challenging players to get the best out of them?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to build relationships first, and then, based on those relationships, you can coach the way that you need to coach. Our group has a great way of being able to look in the mirror and be honest with themselves. So in those moments where I do have to turn it up a little bit, they understand the reason why. I think if you just beat kids down or players down, they're not going to grow and they're not going to get what you want from them. But if you build genuine relationships with them, let them know that you genuinely care about them, in those moments where you have to coach them hard, they embrace it because they know where it's coming from.
When you're facing a Coach Mosley team, they're going to be, kind of dialed in defensively. But what has the Magic done so far in the series to challenge you guys on offense?
I think they've done a really good job of just protecting the paint. They send a ton of bodies to the paint, making it difficult for your pick and roll game to happen and be as effective as you like it. Obviously they're big, strong, physical guys. So we got to do a better job, of creating that spacing and then finding ways to attack.
JB, along those lines, with Jalen, as he's trying to make adjustments in this series, does he have to guard against thinking too much as opposed to reacting, playing? Do you see that at all with him?
Yeah, I think that's what's most important, and understanding for all of us that, what we did is good enough. And not overthinking, trying to become, because it's the playoff, you want to, do more or be different. But the reason we're sitting here in these seats, the reason those guys are out there on the floor is because, what they've done is good enough, and being who you are is good enough. So overthinking the process just complicates things.
has a question. Yeah, we going up. Still there's room for expansion. We flying high every time, overcoming every hurdle, dedicated and sublime. With this passion, we gon' hurt you, something surgical. We hope to reach the masses with these verses. Keep inspiring till it's curtains, keep igniting fire in you, never stopping. We give praise. Here's the menu for today. Here's the strategy to play. Never give up, keep the faith, keep it safe. Yeah, we going and we going. Every time we hit the show, they making noises so explosive. We going up, we going up. Every answer has a question. Yeah, we going up. Still there's room for expansion. We going up. Every answer has a question. give the people what they want, cause I got it. I ain't lying. Locked in, I do it just for profit. I ain't lying. Love it how I break it down just like that. I ain't lying. Love it how I run the town.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Courtside Countdown presented by Hard Rock Bet. Kendra Douglas alongside Savage Bet says, we are so back.
Woo, we are.
We are so back. And I'm so excited that we get to be here with you guys because tonight's going to be a good one. Game 3 of the playoffs, the Magic taking on Detroit. And we got something to show you guys. Woo. Everyone will be wearing this. Wear the shirt. Wear the shirt. So that's what needs to happen today. Wear the shirt because it's a funeral. I like this. Jay Kerr says it's a funeral for the Detroit Pistons. Yes, all black, everything for the Orlando Magic here tonight as we get you ready for tonight's game. It'll be on NBC and Peacock at 1 p.m., but you got us to talk to you as we get you ready for today's game. So I want to say welcome back to Orlando.
Yes.
Before we get into things, continue to keep the comments coming, but how are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. The mission was to come back here with at least one win. The Magic did that. So vibes are very high heading into Game 3 in this building where the Magic have been so effective all season. And we know how these playoff crowds are like in Orlando. So did that. Now my mission is to remember to say today throughout this entire show. Because, as you know, you get so accustomed to tonight. Mm-hmm. This is a day game.
It is.
And I think Magic fans are going to have the energy of that 1 p.m. energy where they're wired and ready to go to start this day off and then dump out and party and celebrate afterwards.
Yeah, I'm excited too because it's going to be a great game. I see the comments that you have going here. Let's go, Kendra and Dan. Yes, RIP Detroit. I love that one for the all black. Like I said, nice little funeral. One person said, going strong for our 4 Bs. Now, we were trying to think of that, and we're going to assume that you meant Boogie. So you got Bankero, we got Bane, we got Black, and then we got Boogie.
Yes.
So yes, you do want to go strong for our 4 Bs as the Magic look to get a win here tonight.
Those guys go strong. They'll get a big win today. Because what we've seen is different guys go off at times. We've had Jalen Suggs had his moment. Franz Wagner had his moment at the Game 4. Paolo Banchero had a really strong entire Game 1. Jalen Suggs has had his times. It'd be really nice to get a few, 3 guys. Mm-hmm. Just give me 3 guys with complete performances from start to finish offensively and that same defensive energy we saw in Game 1. And I think the Magic stormed to a victory here at Kia Center today.
Yeah, now I want to go ahead. Let's go ahead and get this out the way. Let's take a look at those highlights from Game 2. I know it's a tough one, of course. Yeah. The Magic, they were able to come up in Game 1, but of course that Game 2 victory was a first ever postseason win inside Little Caesars Arena by the Pistons. Orlando outscored the Pistons in Game 1, but in Game 2, a different story. Of course, we know that third quarter performance when Detroit went on that 30-3 run. There was a different sense of urgency from that Detroit squad, I would say. What did you notice coming out of that second half that it kind of turned it up a notch?
Yeah, it's a good point because I feel when you look at this series as a whole, the Magic have played as good, if not better than, Detroit in 7 of the 8 quarters. But that one quarter was such a swing quarter. And I really feel what happened was at halftime, when you looked at it, the Magic felt they withstood Detroit's best punch. They were right there in the game, equal at halftime in a decisive Game 2 where the Magic could be coming back here up 2-0. And I think Detroit felt that desperation that their playoff lives were on the line, and they came out in the third quarter with that intensity. And that was really the difference maker in here because you look at quarters 1, 2, 4, the Magic were able to meet them or play better than them in a lot of those quarters, even without shooting the ball well. And instead, Detroit comes out of this one with a big 30-3 stretch, and that proves to be the difference.
Because when you look at those numbers, though, too, I mean, they kept this game under 100, 52 total rebounds compared to the 10. And then the assists, though, that's something that Cade Cunningham's just a pro at, and, of course, this Pistons team's really good at. It's the shot making that's going to be that's difficult for both teams,
yes,
I believe. But it is going to come down to who can be aggressive with the rebounds and then also who can score in the paint, because that's kind of what we know is going to be the biggest takeaway from this one.
No, excellent points in this one. And we've seen with the Magic, specific players tend to shoot much better in this very building, and I think the crowd's going to be behind them. a little extra pep in the step. And that's what really helps you when you're expending so much energy on the defensive end to come out effectively offensively, is when you feel that crowd behind you. How many times have we heard the guys talk about that? I think that's going to be a big factor and a reason why they shoot the ball well tonight. Because if they play as good as defensively as they have in games 1 and 2, and they could score over 100 points, they're coming away with the victory tonight.
I love what you said about that, because one thing that I think today, one thing that I think that was said so well after first off, I think ultimately they had to get game 1.
Yes.
They had to, because it feels like the spirits are not down all the way yet. It very much feels like this team knows that they're still in it. They have to clean things up a little bit. That's what keeps me hopeful about game 3. Plus the shirts, plus the fact that we're back at the Kia Center. I want to get to some comments real quick, and then we'll start to talk about some of the guys, because Jay Suggs is one of them. One Chevrolet says Suggs legacy game incoming. We do want to talk about Jalen Suggs and what he did. And then another one. So Jay Curve says he's got the nicknames on deck for us. I got to go through the nicknames though. One person said Magic not going to disappoint at home. We got Paolo is due for a 40-plus game. I agree completely. I think Paolo is due for a 40-plus game in this one. Okay. And then, I want to real quick, because this is a good one. Someone said that Javon has a tough mindset, and that these matchups with the Pistons energy, and he can handle the ball, and he needs more minutes in this series, or minutes period. I think that, with this team, we all know that when it comes to the playoffs, you play a little bit smaller when it comes to your lineups.
Tighten up the rotations.
There you go. You tighten up the rotation. So, but at the same time, Coach Mosley said in the pregame presser, and yes, it was about Tristan, but this can be said about everybody. When a guy is needed, he will know his moment, and he will come out correct. So I agree. Javon has a very good mindset, and when he is needed, he will come out and have his moment. Shout out to him and his wife, though, as you guys might know and see that they're having a diaper drive here. So if you guys come to today's game, bring some diapers so that way they can give them back to the community. So that's always good to have. But let's get to Jalen Suggs and talk about his performance, because that's what someone said in here. They want to see a Suggs legacy. Well, let's talk about Jalen Suggs. 19 points, 6 rebounds in just the way he's been playing. He's averaging 17.5 in his last 2 games. I mean, we say playoff P, but I mean, Jalen Suggs needs a playoff kind of nickname too, because he's just going off.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I thought he really set the tone at the beginning of game 1 and played steady throughout in most of game 2 with his shot making and stepping into his shot with confidence. And we all know with Jalen Suggs, if he had 2 good playoff games on the road, just be ready for what to expect for Jalen Suggs in this building for game 3. I thought his mindset was so good after game 2, which was, as he's coming off this court, he had his head held high. He's like, we're straight. We did what we needed to do. We came away with the victory in Detroit, broke the streak of losing on the road in the playoffs, and now they have home court advantage. Yeah. If they win the rest of the games in this series in this building, they will advance in the playoffs for the first time in 2010. So it is now in the Magic's control. They earned that, and that's the attitude that they have to have.
Yeah, 19 points, 4 assists, 6 rebounds for Jalen Suggs in that Game 2 performance. I can't stress this enough. I felt like it was so crucial for them to get game 1, not just because it was on the road, but it was to send a message of how they've been handling this whole season and letting people know, look, this isn't a fluke. We know what we're capable of doing. You get a whole healthy team. This Magic squad is dangerous, and they're going to be dangerous at home.
Yeah, I thought, since the play-in game, they've very much treated this like a new season, that they've re-energized themselves. We all saw the clip prior to last game where Jamal Mosley showed them their college highlights to remind them of the type of situations they've been in before where they've performed at the highest stage. And I think the team has met that and more through the play-in, through the playoffs, approaching it with a confidence and air that they know how to control these games. And I think the Magic now, coming into their home court, we've seen them in the playoffs, whether it was against Boston, winning a crucial game against the Celtics, or in that Cavs series where they won every one at home. They know how to do it here in this building. and I expect them to match that energy here tonight.
I expect them to match that energy as well. Some of the comments I'm getting from you guys, usually the role players play better at home. I think this in touch with, with the whole Javon Carter, Tristan De Silva too. He was talked a little bit about today and how he's a good role player. So yes, I agree. Those role players, everyone, you're all in. We're all in.
Yes,
Dan.
everybody in come playoff time. And you could already feel it with the early vibes in this building. There is a lot of excitement here, a lot of excitement around the Kia Center. And these shirts in this building look pretty impactful. So everybody here did a great job setting up this building for the type of environment that's going to come here today.
Yeah, they sure did. Okay, let's talk about P5. He's warming up. He's warming up behind us. We got Mo Wagner also in the building too, warming up. Let's talk about Paolo Banchero and his performance. And let's talk about P5 and the 2 games that he's played so far in this postseason, averaging 20.5 points in this 2 last, 18 points in game 2, 8 assists, and another opportunity for him to help this Magic squad. You look at game 1, and he had more rebounds but less assists. The opposite in game 2. So now you're looking at a guy who needs to just put it all together here today.
Yeah, and when you look at game 2 as a whole, when you're watching the film, he had a lot of assists that unfortunately the ball didn't go in, which is required. It takes 2 to tango when it comes to assists. So I thought P5 was effective as a playmaker. I would love to see a complete dominant game, which we've seen out of him in stretches of the playoffs. But as you could tell, the Detroit Pistons, giving them their flowers, are one of the best defensive teams in the NBA. They are phenomenal at the top of the league in controlling the paint. Where does Paolo Banchero like to live? Going to the basket. And I thought he started to find some chinks in their armor attacking late in game 2. We saw that posterizing dunk over Beef Stew. And, there's a little communication back and forth. And if P5 plays with that kind of fire, I think all those numbers can go up here at home in game 3. And we'll spend game 4 pregame talking about what a crazy performance P5 had in this one.
All I can think about is the playoffs when the Magic were taking on Cleveland.
Yes.
Do you remember how insane it was? We weren't even having black shirts. We didn't even have black shirts, but we still had clappers. I propose that that's the exact same feeling you're going to have today, even better. The way this team plays, you see it right there. Game 2 for Paolo, 18 points, 8 assists, 6 rebounds. That's still a good way to finish. I think he's going to have another good, strong game here today.
Yeah, no, I think those numbers would have been more like 18 and 12 assists if the law of averages it even out and the Magic make shots they normally make. But P5 has had control of this series in terms of when the ball is in his hands. The Pistons defense is focused on him. You could tell J.B. Bickerstaff, who has such a good relationship with Mose, know what his team is based on, and it's really about Paolo Banchero going to work on the offensive end, and he's going to continue to find ways to be effective. Just remember how it looked in games 1 and 2 against Cleveland when the type of defenses they thrown at him, they're like, oh, the Magic can't find their offensive rhythm. And then we saw in games 3 and 4 here in this building, it explode. I think that we could be seeing a similar type of thing here tonight where the Magic, 2 games into this series with the home crowd behind them, really start to get their offense flowing.
I agree, and the guys spoke today during shoot-around, so let's listen to what they had to say.
What was the adjustment, if any, that Detroit made to begin the third quarter?
Yeah, I think a lot of it was their ball pressure turned up. They did that the first time we played them. We had a big lead. First or second time we played them, they had a big lead. We had a lead. And they just turned up the pressure. They got into some switching, taking away the paint, leaving strong side shooters, and just our ability to adjust to that will be very necessary, come this game.
Practice today, what were some of the focuses for your group as you're getting ready for game 3?
Obviously preparing for the adjustments we saw in game 2, being prepared for their pressure. I think that's the big key. A lot of our turnovers and just empty possessions leading to a lot of their scoring opportunities in the third.
3, what were some of the focuses of things you were trying to dial in on during practice today?
Being more organized on both ends. I think that third quarter in game 2 hurt us. But other than that, we've been playing really good basketball. So just got to learn to just kind of put it all together for a full 48 like we did the first game. Everyone's confident. Everybody trusts one another. So I think we'll be good.
And we welcome you back inside Courtside Countdown presented by Hard Rock Bet. Kendra Douglas alongside Savage says, as we get you ready for today's game, the Magic going head-to-head against the Detroit Pistons for a 1 p.m. game, a day game here in Game 3 of the series. I want to get to some of your comments before we talk about the Detroit Pistons. So something that was said was, we got to remember that the stats might be a little down this series. Detroit has the second best defense in the league. I think that you are going to see the stats be a little bit different in this type of game because both teams are great at defending. So I agree with him on that one.
No, you always have to give the other team credit at what they do. And Detroit has shown over the course of an entire regular season that they're up there with OKC for one of the best defenses in the entire NBA. So that's a great point. It's not always just all Magic-centric. You know, sometimes the other team can do things well.
Yeah.
And we all know Detroit's defense is effective. And it's up on the Magic to knock down open shots and make them pay if they decide to really focus all their efforts on collapsing the paint and limiting the Magic in that area.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that one. So let's talk about today's opponent, an opponent that this Magic team has already seen twice. But the head of the snake of this one, of course, is Cade Cunningham. The way he's been able to perform since coming back, I mean, he led the Pistons in scoring 27 points, 11 assists. He's averaging 33 points per game in those 2 playoff games. At this point, I think you still kind of have to let Cade get his, but how do you kind of now slow him down? Because you basically have seen what he can give.
Yeah, no, he's currently leading the NBA in points per game in the playoffs with 33 of them. He's right up at the top of it in assists. And I thought the Magic's game plan in Game 1 was so effective where, you know, they locked into him one-on-one defensive coverage, which, as we know, the type of player he is, he's going to score against that regardless of who you trot out there against him. But they did such a good job in Game 1 of limiting his assists and holding that to about in the 4 to 5 range, whereas in Game 2, he got that going as well, you know, recording 11 assists. So I think the Magic are better served, you know, singling him up, occasionally flashing and showing him too, but not allowing the other guys to get going, because if he's shooting 58% from the field, putting up close to 30 points, and getting other guys involved, it's going to be tough for you and hurt you in a number of different ways. So the Magic need to get back kind of that Game 1 focus where, if he beats you putting up a ton of points, but on a high usage rate with low assist numbers, you can still find ways to beat this team.
Yeah, you see it right there. Cade Cunningham, 27 points, 11 assists, 6 rebounds in Game 2. So definitely the Magic looking to come up with a different strategy of containing him as much as possible. One of the comments that I saw was Game 2 was just a smoke screen. Something is cooking for sure, and I can't wait to see the new strategy tonight. The new strategy has been is going to be about this Magic team looking to get a win. But one thing that they have done well is slowing down Jalen Duren.
Yeah.
And that was a comment and a question in the pregame presser with Coach Mosley. And, of course, Mosley's not going to give all his keys away of what this Magic team has done. But one of the comments was, now that Duren has seen you twice, now he can kind of understand how to move. What would you like to see from this Magic squad on how to continue to slow him down in this series?
Look, it starts with Wendell Carter Jr., who's done such an effective job as his matchup with Duren, remaining true to principles. And then on the other side of that is they're going to try to create lob opportunities, trying to get Wendell Carter Jr. switched on to Cade Cunningham, and then try to get a smaller guy on Duren. And so that's where Jalen Suggs has been so effective, holding the point of attack, breaking up lob opportunities at the rim. If he could continue to do that as the Magic defense gets reset and allows Wendell to guard him, they can continue to have an effective outcome against Jalen Duren, who is one of the best players on the Detroit Pistons and an all-star in this league. So, look, you're not going to be able to hold him down forever, but the more games you can do that, the better you give yourselves a chance to win this series.
I mean, you see it right there, 11 points, 9 rebounds. One of the things that they were talking about in that pregame presser was when Cade was out, Duren was averaging a little bit 20-plus a game. So for them to continue to slow him down a little bit shows that they are taking the initiative of knowing your personnel and knowing how to control a guy like that. Another guy that they're going to have to look to control is Tobias Harris. I mean, he had a really good game as well, helping continuing this Detroit Pistons team during the playoffs. He knows the Magic. Of course, he doesn't know this group, but he knows the Magic very well with his time here. 16 points, 11 rebounds. How do you slow him down?
Yeah, no, it's a great point. And one thing Magic fans know about Tobias Harris is the mindset that he brings night in and night out. There's no taking, 5 minutes off when you're guarding Tobias Harris or he's on the floor, because he's going to keep pushing. He's going to keep trying to get to the rim. Much like some of the Magic players, he's most effective when he's getting to the basket. Where you really want him to settle is taking those turnaround baseline jumpers, that mid-range shot. And so that's what the Magic defense has to do. Run him off the three-point line and make him settle in the mid-range. If he knocks those down, you tip your hat and keep going on the next possession.
Yeah, and I want to continue to say thank you guys for joining us on Courtside Countdown presented by Hard Rock Bet. We appreciate all you guys giving us your comments and everything. I want to get to a lot of your comments as well. One of the things that I said is we definitely can't let Cade get his. His team feeds off him getting loose. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I think when Cade gets loose, you do see this Pistons squad kind of turn it up a level. So that's going to be something that this Magic squad cannot let them do. The one funny thing that Jay Curve said is the fans have to give the Pistons that Orlando aura that the kids say. So, yes, we want to hear the Orlando Magic fans and everybody go crazy in this game. We're back at home, Dan.
Yeah. No, you got to have that belief, because I thought that was something the Detroit crowd lacked in game one, to be quite honest with you. It was loud, but it wasn't overly loud. And the fans started pouring out around the 4-minute mark, which, when you're a 1 seed, you'd think you'd have a little bit more faith and stay. So I hope the Magic fans here tonight set the tone right out of the gate during intros, that this environment is going to be a dangerous place to play, and that regardless of what is happening over the course of the game, they stick with it, because trust me, that has such an impact on the mindset of the team. Because I thought in game 2, Detroit's fans brought it, and in that third quarter when they were going on their run, they were really bringing it, and that allowed that run to carry it 30-3, whereas I guarantee you, if that was on a neutral site, it wouldn't have been that much.
I loved the fact that, when we were looking at you in Detroit, you had Magic fans behind you. So Magic fans do travel for these kind of games, and that's exciting to see. And then Jalen Suggs needs to provide the energy like game 1.
I think he will.
I think he will, too.
I think he will. He's going to be coming out like a madman, because as Magic head coach Jamal Mosley said pregame, well, Cade Cunningham's the head of the snake for Detroit offensively. Jalen Suggs is the head of the snake for the Magic defensively. And when he's getting in to opposing ball handlers, when he's playing physical, when he's breaking shots up at the rim, getting the crowd going, it gets everybody on the Magic up and down the roster to a man excited, coaches included.
He sure does. One of the other comments we're saying is teamwork and be aggressive. Show them whose house this is.
Yes.
And that's exactly what you want to see. You want to see whose house this is. This is the Magic house, and the Magic players, they are excited to come back here and get a win and look to win the series, Dan. That's what you want to see.
No, the O's always shown up when they're in the playoffs, and they were telling Desmond Bain about that the other day, about what type of environment to expect here in Orlando, because they take it up another notch than in the regular season. We saw that against Boston. We definitely saw that against Cleveland. And as somebody who's been with the organization since 2008, I know how much those home games when LeBron in his prime with a number 1 seeded, Cleveland Cavaliers team was shook up by the environment that was here in Orlando. So these fans can make a difference, and I expect them to do that tonight.
Yeah, I expect them to do that today as well.
Today.
Well, all right, let's get to your storylines for today's game.
Well, we've hit on a lot of them because the
okay.
fans have been with it, you've been with it, and the producers have been with it.
I love it.
But number 1, keep Cade under control. And what I mean by that is, look, we know he's going to get his, but you have to keep the scoring numbers in the inefficient range. Even if they get high, make sure they're inefficient. Keep the turnover numbers up, which we saw in bouts of games 1 and 2 especially, and keep his assist numbers down. Need those to be closer to the game 1 total than the game 2 total. The paint is pivotal. This series so far has been determined by the paint. In game 1, Magic outscored the Pistons 54-34 in the painted area. In game 2, exact same numbers except flipped. The Pistons outscored the Magic 54-34 in the painted area.
That was so interesting.
So we need that to go back into the Magic's favor in Game 3 here in Orlando. Lastly, it says it on the shirts.
It does.
It says it in the building.
It does.
It says it everywhere. Everybody in here in Orlando, we already hear it.
Wow.
getting booed with it.
Because they're saying wear the shirt. They're telling people to wear the
They're
shirt.
booing people for not wearing the shirt. So if you're in the building,
wear the shirt.
Wear this, because you're going to get
booed.
You're going to get crucified here if you're
Wear
not wearing this shirt. So put it on, wear the shirt, be loud here in the Orlando building tonight, because when I'm leaning over to talk to you tonight, I don't want you to be able to hear me. So when I wake up tomorrow, my voice is coarse because we've been so loud trying to talk to each other throughout the game.
I love this moment, though. Like,
wow.
We haven't even, this is not even everybody.
No.
And you already can unhear them say booing because they want everyone to wear the shirt. This is great.
This crowd is jazzed up.
They are. I'm so excited. They said, look, we are here for a Saturday 1 p.m. game. We have all the energy in the world, and we can give you that.
If you magnify this crowd currently to this building being full, which it will be tonight, and they bring that same type of booze to the Pistons, they're going to be a little shook.
I know. I'm excited about that. That's what we need, those boos to go to the Piston squad. But that is going to do it for us on Courtside Countdown presented by Hard Rock Bank. They are giving people a hard time here. I'm Kendra Douglas along with Savage Says. You can catch today's game at 1 p.m. on NBC and Peacock. The Magic, Game 3, taking on the Detroit Pistons. I think someone put on the shirt. Okay, yes, they're clapping now because someone is putting on the shirt. The Magic, Game 3 against the Detroit Pistons. But we will be right back here on Monday, continuing to talk to you guys, give you all the energy, and hopefully talking to you after a win. It is loud in here already.
Already. This crowd is bringing it. I love it. I look forward to talking to you before Game 4 about everything we see in this one today.
They're giving this girl a hard time because she's not putting on her shirt. We'll figure her out, get this one. But that will do it for us. Thank you guys so much for joining us, and we will see you on Monday.
Give the people what they want, 'cause I got it.